Okay, and picking up on mobile. These are the types of advertising, the types of inventory. This is a few years ago, but the trend has continued. And you can see that the most important thing people rate is to have a website that's mobile optimized, meaning it'll fit on that small screen, basically. Next comes search, mobile search, very important. Not surprisingly, if you think of it, it's search is kind of most important in all advertising. That's why Google is still the biggest ad player out there. But with mobile, when you're on the go, you're using Google to, as we all know, to look for just about everything. So, and if it's not regular Google, it's Google Maps or whatever. You've got social media. Well, you can see it here. Video, static display, rich display, etc. So that's a ranking of the types of advertising that are most popular in mobile from a few years ago, but basically the same things holds true today. So what can we say about mobile video? The fastest growing segment of probably all the advertising in the U.S. is mobile video. There you see from 2015 projected to 2020. Here are from Statista. I thought you might find this a little bit interesting. Qualities of a perfect mobile ad, according to Teen Millennial in the U.S. as of 2016. And can be saved and accessed later. You can see from a trusted source as an offer. It's customized for you, easily shared, and then you get something funny, providing good information, ad is relevant, things like that. Now, the mobile video ad impression is something to be looked at carefully. And you guys see them all the time, and you have your own opinions. But as we saw earlier, when we looked at the results from the Hulu campaign, that the IAB counts, if you look at it for 2 seconds, it counts as an impression. So obviously it is paramount to capture the viewer's attention very quickly. Now, as with any video, this goes for any ad, a 30-second TV ad that runs on ABC or NBC or Hulu or whatever. Any video, you need to turn the sound off when you look at it and when you look at the ad. And you should be able to get the message with the sound off. TV is a visual medium. Presentations are visual. People don't hear the words, but they see the images and the pictures, and those images and pictures communicate thousands of times more quickly and effectively than words, whether they're read or spoken. So, tell your story visually. If you have to add captions to tell the story, go ahead and do it. And one top creative person basically says, make it as short as it can be and as long as it needs to be. And you know, with internet advertising, you can test and try different things and see what happens. With mobile, you can really do location-based marketing. That's kind of a unique thing that mobile does. Yes, out-of-home can do it also to a degree. And that's why, in fact, lots of smart out-of-home buying agencies, like the one you heard on the phone the other day, you may recall that Billups was asked by Sean Landgraf, the person in charge of buying agencies for Lagardère, what are you doing to tie in with mobile? And how are you building your out-of-home to enable people to do things with their mobile devices and do geo-targeting and things like that. How do the two interact? That's a hot area. So geo-targeting, delivering content based on geographic location, and this can be done. All mobile devices are tracking your location all the time. And by the way, this data has been used in the last few years for criminal investigations. Bomb goes off somewhere, for instance, and it's possible to track people's phones and get a list of what people were in the area, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I just want to give another little out-of-home example here for geo-targeting. The taxi ads that run in New York City that are digital creative that can be changed. In other words, it's an LED that runs on top of the taxi cab, and they have GPS in them. And a Broadway show can and has, several of them have, made it so that whenever you get around Times Square, all the taxi cabs with digital taxi tops will run ads for a particular Broadway show. And this is doable now. Okay, and location-based things. Pokemon Go is obviously a mobile application that doesn't involve advertising that my daughter was very into a couple of years ago that drove me kind of crazy because I'd have to drive 10 miles an hour on roads that didn't want me to drive 10 miles an hour because my daughter saw lots of Pokemon. Anyway, but a very interesting geo-based application. QR codes used on smartphones to do interesting things, including letting you buy tickets to things and then get your phone scanned. But this is a way to kind of build a response device in a way into the phone. And here's a way to put QR codes on packaging. You can put QR codes on your print ads and even on your out-of-home. And this enables cellular mobile devices to interact with out-of-home. Obviously, you can also do things in apps, advertise in apps. Some examples from Dunkin' Donuts. SMS messaging is being used increasingly, and it's much less cluttered than your email inbox. And as we know, younger folks, the slide the text was cut off, tend to use SMS more than they call people. But SMS is sensitive, as is all mobile advertising. This is your personal device. You are looking at this. You're in a hurry. You don't want to have ads intrude on your time and on your space and on your life necessarily. So more so than on any other type of device, there's a resistance to advertising, any kind of advertising on mobile devices, particularly in the SMS space, which is sort of the last, I think, really personal space. But smart marketers are getting into those spaces, but to do so, they have to offer value. So it could be your bank telling you when a check bounces, that kind of thing. You opt in and you accept it. And it's not necessarily advertising. It might just be a company you already have a relationship communicating with you. And here we are, strengths and weaknesses. Well, this gets back to the different ways that an impression can differ, the quality of an impression can differ. Now, we had sight, sound, and movement, and we had other things like that. We had time spent, depth of sale, you recall. I would say size is another way that an impression can have more or less quality. And mobile phones are small, and the videos are small, and the ads are small. And so if you contrast a mobile phone that you're looking at with a huge, billboard Times Square, size has impact, Small does not have impact as much. Small means you don't have time, you don't have space, even for a lot of copy and necessarily depth of sale. Phones do not necessarily have the best color reproduction. So there are some weaknesses to mobile advertising. The intrusion on personal space, of course, that I talked about. On the positive side, the darn thing is always with you. You're looking at it all the time. It's space-time related. So what are the other strengths? There are lots of them. Here are some of the challenges facing mobile advertising in the U.S. This is from a few years ago from Statista. There are privacy issues. This is marketers rating different issues in terms of their importance. Privacy, device operating system fragmentation, lack of standardized ad units, which the IAB has worked on, lack of agency expertise in mobile, lack of standardized metrics, another thing IAB has been working on. Difficult to create mobile media, video, ad creative. You can't just run your TV creative on your mobile device. It isn't going to work. And so these are some of the issues advertisers see. And a number of them have been worked on, improved, but they're all still issues, I would argue. So we covered history and background. We didn't really talk about players other than Google and Apple. The IAB is the trade association. There is an MMA, a mobile marketing association, which is also of interest, but the IAB is really the biggie. And there are lots of agencies and companies that are helping advertisers create content and ads for mobile. We talked about trends and some of the strengths and weaknesses. And that is finito for mobile advertising, believe it or not. What would be added to this would be your guys' MMJ, some of which we saw in class last week. And I'm just going to remind you here now that we're kind of at the end of discussing each one of the different media types. These are the ways to evaluate. And you'll remember mobile CPMs are relatively low. And I should add size to this. And because here I am, I'm not in the presentation mode here. So I'm going to sneak this in. Okay. The future. The Internet of Things. All kinds of devices are getting internet in them. These companies are monopolies. That's a problem. Will there be antitrust? Will there be virtual reality coming along? Privacy is an issue for internet and mobile. Is privacy even more of an issue for women, where you see bullies come crawling out to pick on people? Fake and malevolent content versus freedom of speech. And 5G for mobile is coming, and 5G also on the radio spectrum. These are smaller, shorter radio waves. It will allow much faster downloading of videos, much faster everything. They don't travel as far as regular mobile or radio waves, so there will be more relay stations being plunked around. There won't be huge towers, but there will be relay stations. All modern life intertwined with and dependent on the internet. What's going to happen with warfare? It's going cyber now. Power stations will be turned off all over the computer. Elections will be won or lost all over computers. And you know me, I've got a transistor radio in my bag and a survival kit. I've got a little medical kit in there. I have a flashlight you can crank up. And maybe after all, these here folks, these are the Amish. They don't use a lot of electricity. They seem to be kind of divorced from modern life, but you know what? They're pretty successful, maybe pretty happy. So we've now covered mobile, and I thank you.